I feel like I've said this before, but then if even if I haven't, I'm sure other people have, and it's a sentiment I agree with, and that's that I just really appreciate how completely absurd and ridiculous Beast Wars is compared to a lot of, let's say, more traditional Transformers type stuff, like G1 and all that. And I feel like Beast Wars was at its most absurd when we got Transmetals. Like, I know Neo and Beast Wars Second definitely had its moments, but like look at this. It's a giant robotic ant monster, like clearly robotic, covered in translucent plastic and metallic chrome surfaces, and it's ridiculous. Anyway, this is Transmetal Scavenger. This is a figure that I actually avoided initially because I thought it looked terrible, but as time has gone on, as the years have gone by, and as I've come to slowly come to appreciate the ridiculous compared to, I guess, let's say, the mundane and typical, I actually really got interested in this guy. So I found one online for a pretty decent price from an eBay seller that I get stuff from fairly consistently. And yeah, I think this guy's really neat. Definitely has some issues, but overall very fun. And also, this particular antenna is really loose. I want to fix it, but I'm hesitant to, because if I try, like, this is sitting, the ball joint is in clear plastic, so I'm kind of hesitant because I don't want to risk making it too tight, you know? But anyway, yeah, Scavenger is a red ant. It's, as many people have said before, the belief is that this is supposed to be the transmetal form of Inferno, but I never got one, so this became Scavenger instead. I don't know how true that is. Maybe it's been confirmed. I don't remember. All I know is this guy's neat. I actually really like the ant mode. It's ridiculous, and it looks like it's made out of car parts. Or not car parts, but like it looks like it's made out of, you know, robotic stuff. But I think it's cool, and I really like how, like, this is something I didn't realize at first, but there's this joint here, right in here, that allows you to arc the back a certain way, and I really appreciate that because that adds a lot to the ant mode. Because if you just have this kind of straight out, it's just not as interesting. But I feel like being able to arc things back like that and really kind of get the legs into play, it really does help to add some extra personality to this. Now, of course, it's covered in detailing. With all this stuff going on the legs. Let me try and get some more light in here. There's all this detailing going on in the legs. Some nice molding going along the back. Even like the head that has this red translucent plastic actually does have mechanical detail molded into it. And of course, right along here, the back, the thorax, abdomen, I don't remember. I love this layered plating look they've got going on here, and like the orange and red kind of gradient metallic looks great. It's definitely a little bit worn and flaky in places, but I really don't mind that. It actually kind of works, makes it look a little bit more worn and weathered. So I'm cool with that. But yeah, it looks neat. He's got these little bits down here that actually help to keep the back end suspended, which I think really helps with the look and overall kind of silhouette of the ant mode. You even get a little bit of articulation in the head thanks to these little dual ball joints here in the stock, so you can kind of work that ever so slightly to get a little bit of like tilt and turn. If you go too far, it starts to look ridiculous, but you can do that, and I appreciate that greatly. And yeah, the head again looks great. I love this metallic green that they used for the segmented eyes on the translucent red. That's really nice. And the antenna, as you can see, they're on ball joints, so those can rotate around and move. The mandibles can open and close. Oop. To a point. because of the dual stalks here, you can kind of move the head up and down like that if you want. You can, as I said, do some kind of pseudo rotations, but then you've got the drill bits down here that do kind of get in the way, or at least look out of place. But you know, you could probably, like if you really wanted to, you could angle them maybe up, make it seem more like I don't know, kind of weird neck tendon thing. Personally, I just like to do the basic angle them down and kind of use the head to cover them up. I think that works. And the legs are all segmented on multiple ball joints, so you've got ball joint here, and then a hinge here that can go pretty far out. Actually, I think that just came out. There we go. So maybe not terribly far out, otherwise you risk popping it out. But yeah, it's pretty expressive, and like the joints on the legs aren't super tight, but as you can see, they're tight enough that they can actually support the upper body of the ant when you have it angled like this, which I think is really cool. I really appreciate that. It's like, because you've got 6 legs holding all of this up, I think that's why it works so well, even if the joints aren't super tight. They're not loose, as you can see. I pick it up and they're not moving, but yeah. That is, I guess, pretty much all I can say, other than I didn't talk about the colors. So yeah, I like the colors on this guy. The chrome orange with the chrome orange and red back here works well. That kind of red fade helps to bring it into like the red translucent bits that are all over this thing. And the gray extremities or silvery extremities for like the legs, the antenna, the mandibles, it all works. It's a pretty decent overall complementary color scheme. That boy, this this lamp, I just cannot get. This was supposed to make this easier, and I just can't get a handle on it. But anyway, it all works really well. It is a cool. Cooperate with me, light. It is a cool, cool ant mode, cool figure, and I don't know, it looks good. At least for what I'm interested in. Now, for sizes, this is, I forget what class this qualified as back in the day, but it's a pretty big ant. He's pretty sizey. Yeah. I mean, even if you ignore the legs, that's, I want to say, roughly Voyager size. Like, roughly. So maybe that's the intention. As I said, I don't really remember what this guy's size class is supposed to be, but he is pretty big. Comparatively, anyway. And, of course, here we've got to do the ant with the duck tank. Now, before we move along to the transformation, just want to go over the kind of standard stuff that you kind of expect from these kinds of things, and that is that if you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done on the channel and you want to support me or the channel or both, I do have a Patreon. Patreon account. Patreon, it's a $1 a month. It's the only tier I've got. That $1 gets you early access to new videos, in addition to the exclusive access to the occasional Patreon-only video that I make. If you'd rather support the channel in ways that doesn't require money, you can always like, comment, share, subscribe, that kind of thing. You know, the usual YouTube stuff. Now, first thing, we got to do Scavenger's vehicle mode. Because Transmetal. So first thing I'm going to do is sweep back these ant legs, just to kind of get them up and out of the way. And it's, yeah, the legs are one of the things about this figure that's a little bit like take it or leave it, because they are a little bit fiddly. But anyway, bring those back, straighten this out. Then we can just kind of push these off to the sides so that we can bring the ant head back and open up the mandibles so that we've got clearance. bring this whole thing back here, like so. Straighten out the drills. Yeah, I'm just gonna bring the ant legs back in. And then we take these bits down here and fold them out. And that, we angle this a little bit more. There we go. Get things lined up. That gives us Scavenger's vehicle mode. And boy, that sure is a thing. That is undeniably a thing that exists. I don't know what the official orientation is for these legs, but this works. Yeah, it's a thing. It exists. You can do it. I'm okay with this. Like, it's absolutely dumb. There's no denying that. But it's kind of a fun and harmless dumb. Like, there's nothing about this that I feel like really sacrifices either the ant or the robot mode. So I'm okay with it. The one thing that's kind of neat but also disappointing is there are little wheels on the undersides below the drills here that when you spin them, makes the drills spin. And what disappoints me about that is no matter how much I try to straighten out those drills, they never quite go straight. Like, they're always kind of a little bit off, no matter how I adjust them. And I really wish that those could be in a better, like, straight position. The other thing is this wheel sticks. It's very, very sticky in one spot, whereas this one moves much more freely. I haven't opened this up to check it. I've been thinking about maybe putting some shock oil in there or something. I don't know, but the point is that kind of stinks because you're supposed to be able to push this down and like roll it and have the... Oh, there you go. You can see the drills turning. So that's neat. It just, maybe not the best gimmick, but it's fine. It's cool for what it is, and I think as a vehicle, it kind of works in a weird way. I mean, the drilling thing is like, no, this isn't gonna work. But I don't know. I just kind of appreciate the ant head moving back to almost become like where a driver would sit. And like I said, like the wheels don't really get in the way of anything, so I like it. It has its charm. Now, for the robot mode, the main thing, I'm gonna fold this back because those are only for the vehicle mode. And now, I'll just bring this forward again for now. Going to start with the legs, by which I mean robot mode legs, so it's out of the way. And first want to take this whole carapace thing back here and pop that out. And this is weirdly tricky for some reason. I don't really understand why. Like, I try to get a finger under there, and it doesn't really want to come up. It's very odd how well this settles into place. And I think I'm going to pull out the spudger for this. So I'm just gonna try and pry this out. Right up. There we go. That's one side. Kind of connects right around here. But it's weird too, because I don't actually see any definitive place where this pegs or plugs in. It just clips over the whole thing almost too well. Case in point, I'm still struggling with this. There we go. Okay. Like, there are no pegs or anything on it, it just flips over. But anyway, this comes out, and you can actually see there's some really nice molded detail on the inside here too, some nice texturing. That's the only time you ever see it. But anyway, bring this out, fold this down on this, it's like a ball joint here, as well as a hinge. So I'm going to bring that out around that so that you can access the ball joint better. Rotate this around, and the reason you can't do that this way is because this peg section, this strut, is kind of squared off. So when it gets between these little bits here, it's not going to be able to turn. But bring that around, and then this all just comes back and settles against the wheels. Next, to take the obvious legs and bring those out, and just straighten them out, and unfold the foot. Same deal here. There we go. And there is the lower body all done, and now things get weird. Because the entire upper body of the ant is arms. So I want to split the head as I did there, and then split the arms along there. They peg in, as you can see, here, and there's also a little bit of a peg and tab thing going on down here. Bring these down, rotate them around 180 degrees, as you do, and there you go. Now, orienting the arms is very, like, I don't know how this is supposed to go. You bring these down, clearly, and you can bring these forward for elbows, clearly. But what to do with the ant legs and the ant head, I have no clue. What I think you're supposed to do, because this strut, it's like another dual hinge where it's swivel here and then a ball joint here. I think what you're supposed to do is swivel this around and bring it back like this to kind of get it out of the way. What I like to do is rotate the antenna backwards and kind of line it up like this so that it just kind of rests along the back there, like that. I have no idea if that's correct. I've seen plenty of people do the thing where you just bring the ant head back like that, and I think that also works too. It's just because that's on a ball joint, I feel like maybe that's the intention. I could be wrong. That ball joint may entirely just be so you can rotate the ant head around. I don't know. But that's what I'm doing. And now for the ant legs, I still haven't quite figured out what I want to do. I just try to kind of angle them so that they're back and out of the way as best as I can get them. And I generally kind of layer them over each other, generally. But like, there's so much leeway in how you do this that it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever the heck you want. It is what it is. But okay. So there we've got one arm situated over here. Gonna do the same thing, just bring it down. Rotate that antenna back. Rotate that around. Bring that up. And then do this thing as before, which again, to reiterate, I have no actual idea if this is accurate. This is the intention of the design. And I don't care, really. I feel like there's so much chaos going on in this guy's construction and design that who cares? Like, there's bound to be plenty of interpretation and room for interpretation when it comes to these things, so it's, yeah, it's fine. It's probably wrong, but what even is right when it comes to this nonsense? And lastly, take the robot mode head and just fold that up, and that will also fold out this little chest thingy there. And that's it. There is Scavenger in his robot mode, and he is quite the sight. This is yeah, this is just a monstrously weird thing. And this, you kind of see a thing that I'm irritated by. I'll talk more about this later, but the feet kind of bug me for a very specific reason. His balancing is a little bit difficult because of all the junk happening on his back, so if you want to have him just standing, you kind of are forced to punch him forward a bit. Maybe not to this extreme, but like, if you want him to actually stand up, you do need to angle him so that he's leaning forward. Otherwise, he is going to pitch backwards. Or, of course, you could always try and move his arms a little bit more towards the front. That does redistribute that weight at least a little bit. His antenna keep getting hooked on that carapace on back. Okay. So yeah, Scavenger is just a a freaking mess, but I absolutely am into this. He's a mess, but he's a mess that I think is very cool. He's, again, just kind of chaotic. And, oh boy, I need to adjust that balance a bit. That kind of works. This lamp. Anyway, yeah, he is just like a chaos gremlin visually. It's ridiculous, but I actually do really like this. Colors are kind of out there, but nice. I really appreciate the added purple that you get now, because you didn't really get that in the ant mode, but you get some purple in the lower legs, in the biceps and forearms, what count as biceps and forearms, and just a little bit too in like the waist area, and of course the head. The translucent, it's weird that like pretty much all the red on this guy is translucent plastic. It seems to be holding up just fine. Like I got this used. It's obviously been, you know, pre-owned. Someone else is messing around with it. But all of the translucent plastic seems okay. I don't really see any signs of cracking or stressing. So that works. I'm kind of surprised by that, but I'm okay with that too. I think it helps that a lot of the jointage that is translucent plastic is either really thick translucent plastic or the actual joints are attached to something else, like the hips. The hips are actually these little black struts in here, and then the translucent plastic is attached to that. Similarly, the knees, you can see how those are attached. So like the thigh sections, at least, that translucent plastic is more like plating that fills things out. But then the shoulders are entirely translucent plastic, but it's like really thick pieces of translucent plastic. So I think that's okay. But yeah, this is absurd. This is completely ridiculous, and I actually do really enjoy the visual chaos here. The torso has some nice molding to it. I really like this shock of metallic green that you kind of like. It's the same kind of green that you got with the segmented ant eyes, but now it's located in the center of the torso, and it's got this really nice kind of semi-organic layering to it. Just the texture. It looks more like this looks more like a bug carapace than the actual bug mode carapace, which I actually think is kind of interesting. And of course, you've got the fact that he doesn't have hands. He just has drill hands. I'm okay with that. It would be cool if you could give him proper hands, but I'm okay with this. And also, because of the location of the wheels, it allows you to just do this. You can rotate things that way to make it look like his hands are drilling. It's fine. It's just it's a little bit odd, a lot of bit odd. Definitely an odd design, but it's a design that I think it works because they went so hard with it. And yeah, I don't know. It's a fun color scheme, nice texturing. But look, waffling. I just like to point that out on older figures because so many people whine about it in new figures, how it's like a new thing. It's like, no, it's been around forever. But what I was saying about the feet. What really bugs me about the feet is the angle you have to use them at. Because right here, these feet are as out as I can get them. Like, it looks like they should be able to go further up just a bit, but they don't. They stop here. And that's a problem. Because the angles, as you can maybe see, it's kind of hard to see, but when you put this on a flat surface, it angles the shin back slightly, which means his legs aren't straight up and down. His legs are always angled slightly backwards. And that, more than anything, I think, contributes to him falling over. Because if you try to angle the legs, if you try to angle his torso, if you try to line it up with the legs, then he's going to be leaning backwards. And then with all this junk on his arms and back, he's going to fall back, which is why you have to lean him forward. And that just really irritates me. I really wish these feet could straighten out just a little bit more. I don't need them to go flat. I just need them to angle, like I just need them to angle them just a little bit more so that these shins aren't going backwards slightly. Or even allow the knees to straighten out just a tiny bit more and bend just a little bit forward to kind of account for the fact that those shins angle backwards. That's all this toy needed. But oh well. Yeah, I don't know. This guy, as I said, is completely ridiculous. Very, very visually chaotic, but I actually really like it. I actually do like the ridiculous silhouette that this guy cuts. Like, even from the back, this is a mess, but this is kind of an interesting mess. It makes him look kind of hulking and brutish and intimidating. And you turn him around and it's kind of more like, I don't know, like scary and unpredictable, not so much hulking and brutish, but still, it works. Now the head is wild. He's got these enormous horns that are just kind of encasing the sides of his head. Like it just goes all the way down and around, this kind of like plating. The head itself kind of looks like this weird toxic purple gumdrop thing that's just got these like horn plates around it. And it goes all the way around, as you can see. Like it's just basically like he's got a gumdrop head with like plating on the sides with horns. And then he's got that absolutely unhinged face. It's like a spirit Halloween decoration in a good way. But also with the kind of segmented dots on the head, or not segments, little dots on the head that they evoke the ant eyes. So I don't know if that means he actually has 5 eyes, or if he has 2 eyes and like 3 sensors, or if it's just 2 eyes and 3 things that are meant to evoke the design of the eyes. But turns into a bug, so it would work if it was extra eyes too. And of course the giant grin, which is like, I don't know if he's supposed to have his mouth open in a yell, or if this is actually supposed to be teeth, like the white bits. It's hard to know for sure. Like, I really can't tell if he's like grinning or if he's yelling. It seems like grinning because, white, that would imply teeth. But he's also a robot. So, I don't know. But it's a really interesting face. It's really kind of recognizable and iconic to the point. Like a little bit of, I can't tell if that's paint flaking or if that's flaked paint that got onto the head. Anyway, the head for Scavenger is iconic enough that they included it with that Generation Selects or whatever it is release of Antagony, which is kind of neat. Okay, I think that white is just some excess that got stuck onto the head. Good. I prefer that. But anyway, yeah. It is, I guess you could say, an iconic head, even though it's weird that not everyone, but like I saw a lot of excitement for the inclusion of the Scavenger head with Antagony, and also the way that like Legacy Inferno's ant head thing, when you open it up, it gives you like a pattern similar to Scavenger's chest. There's something funny about how everyone seems so excited about that, but like this figure, nobody seemed to actually want back in the day. I've seen videos that where like people reanalyze it now and they're like, yeah, this figure is fun. He's ridiculous, but he's fun. But like back in the day, people seem to hate this thing. So I don't know. Anyway, the articulation. The articulation on the head is, as you saw, it's just a swivel, so it goes all the way around. 360 degrees, that's it. You can kind of look down a bit if you want to use that transformation joint, but the further down you go, the more it sucks into the torso. But I don't know. The way it kind of works layering-wise, I feel like that does kind of work for articulation to a point, as long as you don't get too extreme with it. We'll do the arms last. The hips are on a ball joint, so you can go out to about there and go forward all the way, do the high kicks, can go back to there. But yeah, the outward motion does suffer a bit. You get a little bit of thigh rotation by virtue of the fact that it's a ball joint. I do kind of wish there was more thigh rotation, but it's decent enough for what it is. The knees can bend all the way in because of the transformation, so that's cool. There's actually quite a bit of leg articulation on this guy. And then the toes can wiggle up and down and curl all the way in if you want, but that doesn't really accomplish anything for posing. Now the arms. The articulation of the arms is relatively simple, but because of all the stuff in the way, it's a bit of a thing. So let's just angle this stuff out a bit, get all this out of the way. So the arms can go out on this joint here. They can also go up on this joint here, but there's all this stuff kind of clashing in the way, so you want to be careful with that. You get some rotation because of that joint for the ant mode back there, but you also do get proper shoulder rotation that goes all the way around. You do not get a bicep swivel, unfortunately. I wish that you had a proper bicep swivel, but they did not put one in there, I'm assuming because of this joint here, which it makes enough of a difference for the ant mode. I feel like I get why maybe they didn't want to do a bicep swivel right up there, and there's no way a bicep's going right in all this junk. So instead you get a forearm swivel, which is disappointing. But it's something. I mean, I feel like it's unnecessary given he just has drills. He doesn't have hands, so it doesn't really matter what angle things are at. But, oh well. But you do get an elbow. Despite everything, you do get an elbow, and it's hard to see with all this junk, but it's very slightly past 90. So, yeah, the articulation isn't bad, especially considering all of the engineering nightmare that is happening back here. But it could have been a little bit better. I would have liked actual biceps, but again, I don't know that there'd be space there, and I definitely would have preferred if his feet could straighten out more. And a waist swivel would also be nice, but the way this thing is constructed and it transforms, that's not happening. So yeah, it's just a chaotic weirdo, and I'm absolutely a fan. He just I don't know. It's not what I would call a good figure, but it's an extremely fun one. All right, let's readjust things again. Nope, wrong way. There, I think that works. So yeah, strictly speaking, not a quote-unquote good toy, but very entertaining, and I absolutely am happy to have this guy. Now, height-wise, this is a bit more of an easier comparison, because it's not just a weird ant thing with limbs splayed out everywhere. So height-wise, he's a little bit shorter than standard Voyager, ever so slightly taller than a tall deluxe. So I guess this would count as a short Voyager height, I don't know. But the amount of bulk and engineering going on with this guy, and I don't mean engineering as in the complexity of the transformation and parts count. I mean engineering as in there's actual mechanical engineering in his arms that give you rotating drill bits. That I feel kind of makes up to that size. And also there he is with a more typical deluxe figure, so yeah, he is a pretty decently sized fellow. And of course, gotta do that final, most important size comparison. Here he is with the duck tank. And that does it for Beast Wars Transmetals Scavenger. I feel like I've already summed it up pretty well, in that this figure is not good, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's not good in the sense that the articulation is incredibly hampered, he's incredibly messy, figuring out how to transform things doesn't entirely make sense in certain situations, like the ant legs and like the ant head bits and stuff like that. Balance is a little bit weird because of everything that's going on with the feet and the angles of the legs and all the junk on his back. Posing him is tricky because you've got a lot of clutter you've got to get out of the way. But the transformation is relatively simple. He looks great despite the visual chaos, and possibly even because of it in some ways, in robot mode. And the ant mode looks really good when you angle things out like that and are able to like use the legs to support things and kind of cover things up. It's a really, I don't know, this is a neat figure. I like this guy. He is ridiculous, but in a way that works way better than it should. So that is going to do it. That has been my look at Scavenger. What do you all think of this guy? Or Inferno, Legacy Inferno, Legacy Antagony, any of the ant bots. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and I have not quite decided what I want the next video to be, so we'll see.